All right, so Kissi Agyebeng says Ghana will utterly lose the corruption fight if OSP fails. Utterly lose it if OSP fails. I mean, he calls for support for his work. But you also made a point earlier, Ray, that the problem is not necessarily a lack of support for his work. The problem is corruption. And it's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. Also, Charlie, court, you do the work, you follow the procedure, you provide the evidence, you win. That's the theory, isn't it?
Mostly not so.
Oh, sir.
Oh yeah, it's not always the case actually.
That's the theory.
Yes, the theory is that
that's the theory.
You have a watertight case according to your understanding of it.
Indeed, that's the theory. If you have a watertight case and you follow the procedure, you win. But in practice, look, you have no idea what your opponent is going to use to defend themselves or to prosecute you or whatever the situation is. You have no idea, right? And you can predict as much of it as you can, but you can still be beaten by something you didn't foresee. And I noticed that when the special prosecutor gave the details of these 4 examples of what he considers to be the beginning of a pattern, right, of the court seeming to work against his office, I noticed that when he explained why the cases were thrown out, he didn't give all the information that is in the public domain about why the case was thrown out. So, for example, you know this case where he declared what's his name wanted, Bisiu wanted, and he went to the Human Rights Court, right? And the Human Rights Court held that
As they took him to the Human Rights Court.
No. He what's his name? Bisiu went to the Human Rights Court.
Yes.
And they said that okay, so for 10 days, he cannot be arrested. Okay, and he says, and Kissi Agyebeng says, well, that kind of suggests that kind of sets a precedent that a court can determine that certain people cannot be investigated. But is that really the case? Is it an investigation that the court was prohibiting, or is it arrest? Right, and I mean, is it the same thing? Then there was this other case. I thought this one was very interesting, where he sought to freeze Cecilia Dapa's assets. Right now, he says in his statement that the court said Cecilia Dapa's brother's assets. He claims that the court said the guy is dead, so it's too late. Right, so if someone is dead, their assets cannot be frozen. But he didn't add the fact that he missed the deadline. You remember that was one of the reasons why his was dismissed. But that didn't find expression in his presser. So I guess I'm just saying that he's telling us one side of the thing.
As in his side of the story. And he's reporting to the people of the Republic about his work. And you see, sometimes we should get it in those lengths, right? If Kojo, I represent you, and I'm of the conviction that we have a watertight case, and I go to court and I did not win, I'm not going to be an independent person on the matter. I will say, I hoped I could win. I believed I should have won, and yet I lost at the end of the day. The difficulty some of us had was the establishment of a certain pattern of a sort. That this means that some people are in cahoot to prevent him from playing his role, or are not in pursuit of the bigger corruption fight agenda. I mean, tomorrow, if Kissi Agyebeng alleges that Raymond Acquah is very corrupt, I've been engaged in very corrupt deals, whilst the work and the fight against corruption is important, which is the work he's doing, the expectation is that the court will balance the rights and the quest to fight corruption against my rights to justice. I think people sometimes get it wrong, that because we all believe that Jojo is very corrupt, mindful of the kind of hairstyles he mostly puts up. It is not the same as a court taking a decision that the case you have brought before against Raymond Acquah should stand. If that is the case, it wouldn't be rule of law. So that clarity should be, and it's not lost on Kissi Agyebeng. He is a law lecturer. He's very competent at that job. So I'm not so sure he doesn't know that. But he has a responsibility not to make it look like, oh, they have ganged up against me. Which I'm not saying it's not possible. This is the Republic of Ghana. And for promoting, aiding, and abetting corruption, we do it gleefully. Whichever institution it happens to be, we do it happily. And in the Republic of Ghana, we caught judges with goats before. So it's not like there are some saints sitting there who are infallible. My expectation is that the judiciary will respond. If they respond, it helps their image. This is not just any partisan person talking about corruption and all of that, or accusing of anything. It is a man we have agreed should be fighting corruption, which is what makes it a bit more serious and affects the reputation of the judiciary in our own eyes. But let's not forget, if the judiciary is completely tainted and damaged where their reputation is done with, everybody will suspect the justice they deliver, which is very dangerous for our country. So we need to balance those things. We need to promote the work of Kissi Agyebeng or the Office of Special Prosecutor, not witch hunt. Proper pursuit of corruption. That is what we are promoting. On the other side, we need to allow the judiciary also do their job properly, support them to dispense justice, no matter whose ox is God. And these things sometimes will go together, but sometimes they are very conflicted.
I am happy, like I was saying earlier, I'm happy that he's decided not to resign. He must stay and fight. He's the conscience of this nation. He's taking the fight against corruption seriously and must be supported. But of course, as we all do know, once you're fighting corruption, corruption will fight you. It's up to you to stand firm and stand firmly and not be, and not to be cowed into submission and say, I'm not going to do it again. So I'm happy that he wants to stay. He says he will continue fighting. After all, he has a 7-year term. As once he's done, and he will go. But the country would remain. And look, if he fails, we all fail. If he fails, we all fail as a country in our fight against corruption. Because we had agreed as a people that the Office of the Special Prosecutor was the one that was going to help us deal with a lot of the corruption issues. That's Ghana for you. So once we've agreed, let's give him all the support. But let me also say that let's exhaust all the legal processes. For me, if I were a lawyer, I would learn one thing from Chachu Chikata. If you go to the High Court and you lose, you go to the Appeals Court, you go to the Supreme Court. Even at the Supreme Court, you go for a review. Even if it's 5-0, go for a review. Who knows? They may change their mind. So let's continue to support the Special Prosecutor. And let's just hope that he succeeds in his fight against corruption.